Hello, the John Sitton Football Uncensored podcast with me, Joe Mealing, asking the questions. We are talking, what's the day today? Today is Tuesday 25th. We are talking about the games over the weekend, John. We're going to do a little, 35 minutes blitzer, chat through the games, punch it out. And hot off the press news is that Harry Kane's staying. So we'll have a little chat about that because you predicted that in one of our last podcasts. So yeah, anything you want to say, John, before we get going?
No, just like a big thank you, really, from and a pat on the back for myself, but a big thank you to you to taking a chunk out of your working day. I've obviously haven't gone to work yet. I got up this morning and helped with the housework. Then my missus went up to the gym, so I went in the home gym and had a workout, had a shower, got all my gear ready for the cab, cleaned the cab out.
Cool.
And I'm ready to go. But what we do is we're sort of looking to knock it out before we both go back to our working day.
Yeah. So squeeze it in as we can.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Keep the pot boiling, as you say. And who knows? A bit further down the line, the gang might be back together, John.
One never knows.
One never knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's crack on with the games. First one.
Sorry, the last podcast that was Harry Kane. You said
the
to me
last
about
one.
the city. Yeah. I said he's better off now doing another deal and staying. And I ain't seen his mum and dad. We've had COVID, so like, what's that, 16, 17, 18 months now?
Yeah.
March to where we're now at the end of August the following year. And then there was a bit quite before that where they went, in the meantime, they had the World Cup in Russia, because I was going to steam in over that, my feelings on that, especially with the semi-final against Croatia, and give my thoughts to Pat on that, his dad. But I just thought to myself now that where it's at is he's better off sending in his representatives, doing another deal for more money and stay in situ and try and become not just a Premier League legend in terms of goals and goals per game, but also a Spurs legend, try and win something which was the original plan. Like I said, I don't think, and I think I've been proved right. I think they've looked at it and the figures frighten the life out of even Manchester City. You know what I mean?
Well, from what I've read, Man City have only put in a bid of 75 mil and then 25 mil in add-ons. So whether that's sort of Bernardo Silva coming the other way or what, I don't know. But 75 mil is low, I would suggest, wouldn't you?
No.
You wouldn't?
No. With the tack-ons, if 100 mil for a 28-year-old over 4 years, and don't forget his injury record is not he's not been ever present. Some people even dared say that on Twitter. He's like the other geezer. What's his name? Jack Wilshere. Like Weetabix ankles. You know what I mean? I even said
that's harsh.
Yeah, it was harsh. Yeah. But his injury record ain't great. And then when I'm looking at like I said to you, break it down pro rata per week. The other deal that Levy was after before bum fluffery, signing on fees, agents fees, goal bonus, whatever, image rights, it was 1.2 million a week. That's just a lot for any player. You know what I mean? And he's not in the Messi Ronaldo bracket.
No, but Levy ain't getting that, is he? Do you know what I mean? And I think 75 Levy will think he's got to be worth 100 mil. He's got to be worth that.
Yeah. I'd say maximum 100 mil. Because it's still pro rata. That's still 500 grand a week when you break it down. Then there's his wages, the reputed 400 grand a week. So you're just nudging the million mark. And then, like I say, you put the tack-ons in, and then it takes it well over £1 million a game.
I heard that the Man City were looking at Lewandowski. I mean, he's what, 33, and they were looking at, he's apparently worth 100 mil. Well, if Lewandowski's worth 100 mil, Kane's worth 150, 175 mil, in my view, because there's no difference between the two of them. But that's my view. But
yeah, no, it's a fair comment. It's fair enough. But it's too simple an equation. You know what I mean? You can't. I've always think I've never. There's different bits and pieces that come into play with transfers. Although I never really had the experience or the benefit of having to get lay money out for transfers. But what you do, you equate what you think each player's worth. Unfortunately, what happens, Joe, is this, right? It becomes a game of comparisons. You understand? So just because they say, well, we want to offer this, and then the club go, well, how can you offer that when they're paying so and so for him? And there's such and such for him, and then obviously it's like it gets nudged up as a consequence of other transfers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think he'd better off rather than uprooting and doing everything like that. With regards to going up north and all the rest of it, and then it got messy. But I did say Spurs had him by the short and curlies. I don't know who done the deal, 6-year deal. We should never have done a 6-year deal. We do top whack a 3-year deal. I mean, it's I think it's a very relevant point. It's
if I remember,
his brother went in and done it.
If I remember rightly, with that, he was underpaid before that 6-year deal. So
I said he's underpaid. I said to his dad he's underpaid.
Yeah, because they've obviously said, well, we'll pay you more, but you got to sign 6 years.
Yeah, well, then you say, okay, what I do is if you've got anything like your nut screwed on in terms of these advisors, in this case, it's his brother or his dad, and there's absolutely no shame whatsoever in his dad or reaching out to tap into other people's experience and say, well, if you want to play that game of bluff, then what we do, we play the game of counter bluff. You want to play cat and mouse, it's like in a game, in a football match. Someone plays mind games where you go, okay, you want to go that route, we're playing mind games.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
this is what I've always said into players. Don't be afraid to do it. Never be afraid to play cat and mouse. And then let's see who's got the balls. You know what I mean? They say, so they say, well, I'm not happy with what I'm being paid. Well, that's what I predicted when I said to his dad, it'll implode. Spurs won't win anything. Pochettino will eventually get sacked. There's too many players getting old together all at once, right? So as a consequence, it will implode. Then it'll have a knock-on effect with regards to Pochettino getting sacked, who he had a good relationship with. With regards to him being underpaid and remonstrating about it, I said, well, he's probably at this moment in time, which was like, what, 3.5 years ago, he's probably getting paid sick with the geezer's track record and the way they run things, rather than reward him. He's probably getting paid 60 to 80 grand less than what he should be at this moment in time, which for sure, and it happened to me personally in a much lower level, for sure that, and this is where one of the things where I agree with Ferguson, right? We're going slightly off piece here, but very quickly tapping into my own experience. I've always said you should strongly reward consistent performance and loyalty. So that what I mean by consistent performance is, for instance, like I was under Peacock at Gillingham for 4 years, like I was under Clark at Leyton Orient for 6 years. I'm talking about training well and living right every day. And then that reflects in your match performance and then your continued selection. And it got abused. And for sure, at clubs around the world, at every level, it gets abused. Loyalty gets abused. So you say, right, okay, you want to go that route. What I'll do, I'll see this current contract out and then we'll see. And then anything that you might have been as a shortfall, you store it. And anything that might say, I was getting paid 40 grand less than what I should have been, 60 grand less. Next time I negotiate, I'm going to want that money made up. That's what you say to the chairman. I'm going to want that money made up somehow. So whether it's image rights, whether it's an extra 3 million on the transfer fee. So then what you do, you put yourself in the driving seat. What he's done is totally, whoever negotiated it gave away any ounce of bargaining power by signing 6 years.
Well, it'll be interesting then if he does sign another deal and just basically in order to get more money. Now, because of the fact
which is what he should do.
Which is what he should do, yeah.
Well, which is what in the end, it's just say, well, okay, if you're going to make it about money, I'm going to make it about money.
Yeah.
Do you understand? As if you're dealing with these people, if you don't want to, all this like gentleman's agreement and an handshake, if you want to turn it nasty, we'll turn it nasty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which I think he's done it, but he's done it on a petulant level.
Well, on that, I mean, we won't without going through every single game, but it just was as a link now to sort of last week's episode where we was talking about you was talking about the predictions for the season. Obviously, Kane not going to Man City now, it's a big deal. How do you think that's going to have a bearing on the season, given Lukaku's performance against Arsenal?
Well, look. What could happen is, like we said, when you asked the question, I said it could have. I said what I said about who I fancy for it, and unfortunately, they had a blip. Although they're still undefeated away from home, Man United. Yeah, and no one should ever underestimate that. There was a little saying coined yet again by the godfather of coaching in the United Kingdom, or particularly in England, Malcolm Allison. He had a saying. He said, "Good teams win at home. Very good teams win away." Right, so people should never underestimate this long undefeated run away from home by Man United, even though they didn't win at Southampton. It's still a massive thing. But
yeah,
going back to your question, we said I think I would, if my recollection's right, I think I said that Kane going or not going, which is an obvious thing to say. To Manchester City, it could have a big bearing on where the title ends up. Now, what could happen is, there's like 6 days left to the deadline. I think City, I don't think historically they could rely on Jesus either, in terms of they see him more as a backup. He doesn't really rate him that highly. He's given him like all these plaudits after on the match of the day interview about him. His family must be very proud of him. They should be very proud of him. He comes in, he's brilliant, whether it's 10 minutes or whether it's a blah, 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 trying to give the geezer a G, yeah? They still desperately need to get someone in because they haven't got a real recognised focal point centre forward. And I think they could quite possibly end up 5th as a consequence. Because all the other teams, Joe, the firepower is frightening.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, I was going to say, just on the Man City thing, I was just reading last night that Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't want to stay at Juventus, and he's angling for a move somewhere, and he's talking to Man City, apparently. So, yeah, that would throw the cat amongst the pigeons, because I'm sure he'd score fucking a lot of goals, even though he's 30, 35, 36, whatever he is.
Yeah, he would. Yeah. But they'd probably go with like some sort of formation where it's a false 9. You know what I mean? A bit like sort of 5 and 5, something like 5-5-2-3, or 3-5-2, but it's like a false 9. Probably I see him playing sort of high, but as an inside forward type of position, so where he could help flood the box or be involved in a link up play. So it could be punched into him. It could get on the half turn and sweep it wide to Kyle Walker or the other, like the left back, Mendy or the Russian, and go from inside to out, play wide, have his little dribble and whip the ball in for other people flooding the box. I don't see him playing as an out-and-out centre forward. I mean, I might be wrong, but yeah.
No, it'd be interesting. It'd be really interesting to see.
Dictate the way they play, definitely.
Well, on that then, let's talk about Chelsea, your old team. Dominant performance against Arsenal. I guess Arsenal still showed their Spursy mentality, but fucking hell, they look powerful, didn't they, Chelsea?
Yeah, totally dominant performance. I thought Arsenal were very lucky in the respect that it could have been 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I thought it was at least one header from Lukaku. It was harder to miss. All he's got to do there is make contact with the top half of the ball and get it into the floor. And then he's made good contact, although the pace was on the cross. So what you say to a forward there, all you've got to do is get a decent surface to it, because the pace is already on the cross. You don't have to generate power. Yeah. So I think if he just heads that down at either side of Leno's feet, however you say it, his feet, he don't get to that. But it was a good eye, and you got the reflex save out of him that tipped it onto the bar. Then there was a couple of others. So the two, it flattered. 2-0 flattered them.
Yeah.
Arsenal, nothing short of diabolical in every department. And then you're going on about Saka, and going on about all the homegrown talent as well. Someone used to stand on the North Bank in the late 60s and through the 70s, up until I signed for Chelsea. I even think he's too lightweight. He's Saka's like still developing.
So they're only young, aren't they? 19.
Yeah. But it's like a thing. I remember around with Frank Clark when there's a kid got in the side. I mean, when I got in the side, I acquitted myself really well for at least 50% of the game. But you're still developing. I was 12 stone 2, dripping wet. I made Phil Thompson look like the Incredible Hulk. You know what I mean? So but I got fucking mullered. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So now we're in an environment, Joe, where in bygone days it wouldn't have happened. They get a chance to develop. They get a chance to be nurtured. They get a chance to come out and then take a new dietary approach, or maybe go get into some physical development with some weights and whatever. You know what I mean? And plyometrics and handling your own body weight and core strengthening. We never had none of that. You understand what I mean? I remember having a rare. He had a run of games. A kid called Stevie Johns. He come in at centre back alongside me. And then I'm talking him through the game, although he was naturally bright anyway. And then something happened in a game anyway. So we're in at half time, and then Clark's gone bum bum bum, like as usual, like using me as a fucking punch bag. So I haven't deflected the blame. I've just said highlighted forensically the facts, what happened. And he said, you can't say that about him. He's a fucking baby. So I said to Clark, well, you need to make your fucking mind up. Is he a first team player or is he a baby? You understand? I said, if he's a first team player, I said, what he does, he takes the same responsibility as everybody else. If he's a baby and he don't have to, then we've obviously got to modify, everyone else has got to modify their game. You understand? They've got to adapt around it. He shut up. He just went red and shut up because I weren't going to have it. I weren't going to take another fucking dose of it. Having been through it at Chelsea where you had like muggy, and I still get them to this day, like muggy fucking absolute retarded cunt supporters who our fucking all the opposition must have thought all the Christmases come at once when your name was read out, on you and Mickey Nutton's name was read out. I just saw what you need to do is trawl back through the games. You know what I mean? For a kid, I acquitted myself superbly.
Yeah.
And the damage was already done. You know, all the household names had already taken Chelsea into the bottom two. And one of the things with Arsenal's defensive thing, that the opposition midfield are going to come off and demand the ball. Right? Well, what happened? They followed them like sheep, like blind sheep. You know what I mean? There's no drilling organisation, no one bossing. The £50 million centre back is not going to solve all your problems. You understand? But you need there was no leaders. You need someone to say, don't go. Sure. Scream at them to think, because they just rolled it into Lukaku's feet when, where, and how they wanted. Without any. You understand what I mean? Without any and the flip side of that is
it was marking him. Is it Mari?
Yeah. Ended up getting the yellow, didn't he? He was lucky not to get red, but he devoured him, didn't he? But I'm on about the supply line, Joe. You understand?
Yeah. Well, you need to block it, surely. You need to block that pass off, didn't you?
Listen, I'll tell you some proper facts. Once Ray Wilkins left, I played in a Chelsea team. I played in every Chelsea team, youth football combination as captain, the first team. I played with a player who never came off and demanded the ball once off of me. You understand? So that's the flip side. Well, you know the opposition, they're going to come off and demand the ball off of their back players.
Yeah.
But what you don't get sucked into bad areas whereby they can just play through you. You understand? And that's exactly what happened. You're talking about areas around the D, dangerous areas around the D, where that's got to be locked tight, and you need people screening the front of the centre backs.
Yeah. But, almost being on Lukaku's toes, presumably. You know.
Yeah.
I think they said it on Monday Night Football. You know, having a box, having two centre halves and two defensive midfielders blocking that pass, basically.
Especially against Chelsea, and especially against people like Lukaku, and then you've got the runners off of him. Do you know what I mean? But there looked to me to be no sort of rigid set discipline, no drill, no dare I say, even a lack of desire to do the nitty gritty sort of dirty side of the game, or the ugly side of the game, as they call it. I just call it doing the hard work and the nitty gritty. You know what I mean? Covering the yards to close down and get your foot in. I thought Chelsea went for him at will, and Arsenal were very, very lucky that it wasn't 5.
On just a quick one on Chelsea, Mason Mount. I can't help but draw parallels to Didier Drogba with Lukaku and Frank Lampard with Mason Mount now. So I wonder, do you think, and maybe that explains why Lampard liked Mount so much, because he saw himself in him, but with that focal point of attack now with Lukaku, do you think that will improve Mount's game? Do you think he'll come on, score more goals, use him as a backboard a bit more?
Yeah, it should do. And I think that's probably, the comparison you draw, it probably, I think the line is drawn at that with regards to the goal return. I mean, obviously Frank was different class, one of the most effective midfield players of his generation.
Yeah.
If not the best, well over 200 goals. And I think that's like a massive part missing in his game, Mason Mount. You know what I mean? He needs to think about making runs off of Lukaku, being a bit more selfish. It's a key word in football, recognise. You've got to recognise the situation, recognise where the space is, recognise when you can run off, recognise when you can gamble. And then it's about the execution at the end.
Yeah. It's just interesting, isn't it? Because Lukaku's come in and he's going to add goals and he's going to be the focal point, and he's added massive value to the team. But he could potentially add value to other players as well and raise their performances because of him. which is sort of almost priceless, isn't it? Really, in terms of a
Yeah.
recruitment
Yeah,
person.
well, it should be. It should be 100 million.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's just not many of them around. I mean, I think Souness said it on telly. You know, it's like he's the only player like he could think of where there's no risk. You know, he's proven in the Premier League. He's not too old. He's not injury prone. He's scored all over the world, and he's already been at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So everything is perfect. It just slots in, and it's quite rare in a big transfer like that.
That's a great call. I mean, I don't subscribe, so I don't really see these comments, but it's a great call. Yeah, it's a great shout. Yeah.
All right.
It's a solid purchase, isn't it? Solid buy.
Yeah. No brainer, really. Just moving on to Liverpool and the man, the myth, the legend, not you, but this time, but Virgil Van Dyke. 2-0 at home to Burnley. I thought Burnley played quite well, actually, but Liverpool, despite not signing anyone, have got Henderson and Van Dijk and Matip and Gomez back.
Yeah.
How do you see them faring this season, and what was your assessment of their performance?
Yeah, well, if you start from the keeper who signed a new deal, what you've just done there is you've named like a really solid spine, a solid backbone, and having been out so long, I think you used a phrase last week. You know, with him coming back, Van Dijk's almost like a new signing.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion, and it's something to conjecture. As I've started a debate on the thing, and it kept going for about 72 hours. I just like people got these opinions on different things, and I just my opinion is such where, you know, if I look at it forensically, you know, what's missing from certain people's games. For me, Van Dijk is probably the best centre-back who's ever played in the Premier League, because I can't really see a weakness. He's good in the air. He's good with the ball. He's got pace. He reads the game well. He bosses people. He covers the ground if he has to make a last-ditch tackle. He's good with interceptions. He's good in terms of bringing the ball in and then passing like a long diagonal as a springboard to start an attack. He's got a good first touch. I think I've covered everything.
Yeah, fuck me. There ain't much else, is there? Quite good looking.
So when you look at all the others, you look at your Adams's like great leader, yeah, same as Van Dijk. Could put his foot in the same as Van Dijk. Not as good on the ball and nowhere near the pace of Van Dijk. So a couple of weaknesses. Sol Campbell, he had a meltdown in terms of
half time. I remember it.
Half time, walks out. You know what I mean?
Although
I think he's one of the better centre backs in the history of the Premier League. He had a couple of things where he had weaknesses. Ferdinand could he relied too much on his pace. Dare I say it, on the odd occasion, probably better off doing then what he's doing now, going in the gym, so that he didn't get bullied on occasions. Terry, distinct lack of pace. Couldn't really run the ball in, would play safe ball sideways. He'd punch the odd one into Frank, but then most of it was like Carvalho, Ashley Cole out to Azpilicueta. You know what I mean? Safe. Threat from set pieces, yeah. But the point being, you could go through every name that people came up with, and comparing them with Van Dijk, they would have 1, 2 or more weaknesses.
Yeah. I don't think it's like top trumps. He just comes out top on everything, doesn't
he? Yeah, he does really. Yeah. He does really.
Yeah.
So, I think they could be. I might have to revise my thing, Man United, because I look at the way Chelsea played. I think they'd be heavily reliant. They've got to hope that he don't get injured, Lukaku. But then I look at Liverpool. They're another threat. You know, so I see the league title out of them 3. Unless City address the centre forward position, it's out of United, Liverpool, and Chelsea for my money.
Yeah, and it was just the sort of confidence that seemed to spread throughout Liverpool, having Van Dijk back. They all just seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. And Matip, to be fair, you know, is solid. And you had Henderson in there, who, I mean, I don't know about you, we get to get your thoughts on him, but he looked fucking brilliant against Burnley.
Yeah, he's last 4 or 5 seasons. He's come on leaps and bounds. I mean, I was one of. I think it might have been the game under Allardyce. I'm not sure if he was in the side. Not anyway. It was a game. Or it might have been one of the early games. Southgate. It might have been pre-Allardyce. I had a pop, and I said we're going nowhere. if this is the cream of England's midfield. But he's come on leaps and bounds in the last 4 or 5 seasons, and so he should, because he's in his prime now. Like I said, with the 7-year cycles.
Yeah,
that I believe in from Eastern philosophy. He's in his prime. So yeah, with that in mind, so picking you up on what you said there about Burnley playing well, they often play well, but they're going to have the same problems, and I think they'll be one of from the bottom up. I think there'll be Norwich, Watford, Burnley, and one other who are going to be scrapping. I think Norwich should definitely go down. I think Watford could quite conceivably go down. I think it'll be out of Burnley and somebody else, because they play well and they can't score. And he's got to try and address the same problems and perform the same miracles and get blood out of the same stone, Mr. Dyche, who I'm a great admirer of.
Yeah.
Like he's been doing for the last however long since he's been at Burnley. You know what I mean? And can he keep doing it? Because they've had no transfer activity. You've got a lot of players all coming to their sell-by date all at the same time. And I'm thinking in terms of like the centre forwards. I'm thinking even the centre backs. I'm thinking people like Cork. No real creativity. Good, box to box, do their bit, but no X factor, and very functional. And they do morph from a 4-4-2 into, like he said, it can be quite a fluid thing when he was talking on TalkSport, which is right, obviously, and I agree with. But I just see the same problem. Where are the goals going to come from?
Yeah. Just wanted to talk about another London team. Monday Night Football, West Ham, Leicester. I know Leicester had a man sent off, but they were so impressive, West Ham. My God, so impressive. It's just absolute crazy high intensity, fitness, strength, determination. They completely fucking demolished Leicester. Yeah, I mean, how well can they do this season? I mean, fuck me. I mean, Antonio, they keep him fit. I mean, he's like Lukaku himself.
He is, yeah. So he don't get enough credit. I mean, this is like Everton Mark II in the early days with Moyes. You know what I mean? After he saved them from relegation, he said to Ken Wright, "Don't worry, we won't go down." And then he started to put things into place, and he made some astute signings. One of whom I recommended to Manchester City, Tim Cahill, from his Millwall days. And then slowly he puts pieces of the jigsaw together. But the common thread, the common theme throughout it always, they became very difficult to beat. They've competed physically, and I see a lot of that in the West Ham side now. I don't think he gets enough credit. Going to Antonio very quickly, because he looks ungainly. He doesn't look smooth and silky, and like, it doesn't move easy. And he's you could see the effort in his game, and you see how he gets covered, his shirt and his face gets covered in sweat. He's built like a brick shit house, isn't he?
Well, I was going to say,
so much power.
Yeah. Do you think he should just tone that down a little bit? Do you think he should just a little? Because Lukaku seems to have just shredded himself a little bit, because he was massive when he was at Man United.
That would have come from Italy. Right. That would have come from Italy. Yeah, they go. There's a lot of people who they've admitted when they were very poorly educated until they went to Italy. I like to think we're catching up, or we've caught up now with the sports science side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might be right, but he's naturally big.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he weren't playing for West Ham, he could play the Denver Broncos or whoever the fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got massive like shoulders and power in his arms, for thighs, calves. You know what I mean? Even his glutes. You know what I mean? He runs. It's important, because like it gives him that thing of like knock players off the ball and be strong and get hold of it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And
sure, yeah.
I don't think he's had enough credit, because he's so ungainly. If it was a foreign forward, they'd be in raptures. Do you know what I mean? So fantastic, I think. Yeah. We said last week, or I said last week, that you said any surprises, and I said, well, yes and no. In terms of how people organise and how they build and how they approach the game, I said West Ham and Spurs. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. I'm just trying to think of other games to kind of mention, really, but the others are kind of pretty standard. obviously Man City destroyed Norwich. I'm not sure that's worth talking about, to be honest. But maybe Leeds Everton is an interesting one. That seems to be a really good game, 2-2. Who finishes higher out of them two this season?
I think Everton.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that if he stays there. If not, it'll be Leeds. His track record, Benitez, is he does the same sort of thing in terms of structure and shape every day.
Yeah.
So, when I did it, when I did it, you got people having a stewards. They'd rather, can't we do a bit of this? Can't we go a bit of head tennis, bit of thing, because of the previous incumbent? You see, It's about creating a culture, Joe. It really is about.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say, make this point, because it might just lead you to think of other things. But he's only very, very new to the Everton job. But they asked him, what he thought of the game, and obviously it's at Leeds, so it's a decent point for Everton, although they played well. They signed Damari Gray, who seems a fantastic signing for 1.5 mil, who scored. But they said, what did you think of the performance for Everton? He said, well, it was brilliant. They did exactly what we wanted, what we've been drilling into them for the last 6 weeks. We've had them for 6 weeks. Bielsa's had them for 4 years. It was an immediate dig, So it's just an interesting comment, I thought, from him.
I mean, he said to me, sometimes you find yourself doing that because he's in an environment where he's not really wanted. Or there's a massive stewards, and I was the same.
Yeah.
And there's some people want you, some people don't. Some people say, well, I've heard good things about him. Some people go, oh, yeah. And then what happens is, Joe, is this: you find your patch on and said, don't do it. He said to me, don't do it. He said, what happens is word spreads. In the end, words, because football's a small world. You understand? And he said, if you're any cop, which I've heard you are, he said, the word will spread. What you find, the point being, you find yourself, look, even someone like him who's won trophies all over the gaff, Europa League with Chelsea, the European Cup with Liverpool, leagues, FA Cups, this and that, other countries, that goes and takes a tiddlywinks for a few quid. Right? He's justifying himself.
Yeah.
He shouldn't need to justify himself. That's the point I'm making. You shouldn't need to justify yourself. No. But unfortunately, sometimes you're living in a world of ignorance. Sometimes you have to. You know what I mean? But through my experience, it was like preaching in the desert. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand. It's like you say, it's obviously because of the situation he finds himself in. But Bielsa just don't seem to change the way he plays. It's sort of shit or bust of him, isn't it? But it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. I just wanted to, before we go, I wanted to just ask about
Damari Gray. Gray. Where'd they buy him from?
I think it was by Leverkusen. Off the top of my head.
Where was he before that?
He was at Leicester.
Right. When he was at Leicester, I said someone should take a chance on him.
I know. I always thought he was good.
Go back through my thousands and thousands of tweets, and he played a couple of games where he's absolutely on fire. And I said, why ain't anyone took a chance on this kid? You know what I mean?
And 1.5 mil.
They've nicked him.
It's stupid.
Yeah, that's less than some agents' fees.
That's something. It's like £1 a pound for a player, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll see. He might ring the bell there.
Well, he's obviously. I mean, your mate Townsend was on the bench already, so he's going to be in front of him. Just want to draw your attention to Saturday. Liverpool-Chelsea at Liverpool. Fucking early doors, massive, phenomenal, huge clash. What's your thinking? What's your thinking on that game?
Well, we know the key areas are going to be midfield. Is going to be Van Dyke v Lukaku, the key area. I think whoever wins,
that is that, isn't
it? Yeah. We're going to be on the Richter scale, won't it? That when they collide. Yeah.
Who gets on top then? Out of them two.
Whoever wins that battle, I think, determines the course of the game. Unfortunately, I fancy Liverpool. Because I purely and simply from the point of view, it's like I said, the vulnerability in the Chelsea side is in one area, and that's at the back. And again, he don't get enough credit, because if you're looking at, in terms of how to approach defending, although he's lost a yard and a half, I've said it before, the best textbook defender in the Premier League since the day he walked in at Stamford Bridge has been Azpilicueta. You know what I mean? In terms of like how he deals 1v1 and spacing off, marking, went to mark players, went to mark space, covering, out to close someone down and exaggerate your starting position, out to mark, try and nick the ball for someone who's got their back to you, out to compete for it if he tries to roll you on the half turn, and then striking to nick the ball. He would be my prime example. But other than that, you know, you've got the wing backs, Reece James. I still think he's vulnerable when the ball's on the opposite side. See, they don't get exposed because they have the majority of the possession and they find themselves crossing the ball, whipping it in, rather than going the other way and having to defend. But when they are asked questions going the other way, I think they're found wanting. And I think Liverpool could well expose that.
Interesting. So yeah, even Tierney got a bit of joy against James.
The Arsenal
game.
Yeah. I mean, what you've got to do, you've got to mirror the way they play, or you've got to ask your forwards to be sort of eye and wide and play that game of cat and mouse. Because what they do, they evolve into like a 3-4-3, and then it evolves in it when they get the overload up the top. They get in off the line, the wide forwards getting off the line, and then the fullbacks tend to rotate with them, and they get that space on the outside. Yeah, it'd be interesting, but I just think Liverpool might have the edge.
Streak it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Oh, and the other one, Man City, Arsenal, but that's at Man City.
Yeah,
I suppose you'll.
Well, it's a big game for us, for Arsenal. I mean, they could get a good hiding, or they could nick a point. I think it'll be one extreme or the other. They could raise their game. If they don't raise their game and they don't sort of get their act together, they could be on the end of an absolute hiding now, a right good hiding. But then if they nick a point, it could be the launching pad for better things to come. But people on my social media digging out Arteta, I don't think he's to blame. I don't think he's to blame. But I think what he's done, he's gone in, and we're all guilty of it. You take the job based on maybe your coaching abilities and a naive assumption that will succeed, when it's all about recruitment. And it's about creating your own culture within that thing of players, within that group of players. If you've inherited people who, not to put too fine a point on it, they're not Arsenal standard. I said it on our previous podcast, Joe. There's too many players not Arsenal standard, and the problem is now he's 20 months into the job and it's still the case.
Yeah.
So does he have the final say? If he does have the final say, then okay, he should suffer the consequences. If he don't have the final say and other people are recruiting in over his head, then you should say, you know what, maybe give him his head, let him have the final say, because for too long now, Arsenal's recruitment has been absolutely nothing short of dire.
Yeah, well, now you've said that, I actually, there's a potential that he's the wrong manager, because he's a very cultured, tiki-taka, playing out from the back coach. That's the way he's been brought up under Pep and all that. But actually, they're not going out and buying those superior elite technicians. Like you say, the recruitment, for whatever reason, isn't up to scratch. They're not bringing in players that can suit it to his way of play. You're better off having fucking Allardyce there.
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a quick story. I was working for the Press Association, and I was lucky enough to be good at the job, gathering stats, talking through the game, gathering stats, which was then relayed to Opta Index, etc., etc. And I had the fantastic good fortune to watch Arsenal after doing a bit of an apprenticeship at Leyton Orient, and then Watford, and then West Ham, then Millwall. Then I went to Spurs. Then I've done a West Ham game v Chelsea in the FA Cup. And he said, you know what? They looked at all the thing and they listened back on the thing. He said, we're going to send you to the Arsenal. And I said, oh, that's nice. He said, because I'm doing all right. He said, yeah, you're very good at it. So that was nice. It was a lovely pat on the back, lovely G. And I had the good fortune to be at every Arsenal home game for about 10 seasons. Between when they was at Highbury, I got presented. Everyone in the press room got presented with a little memento in the press room. The last game at Highbury, and then onto the Emirates. Now the bottom line is this: Arteta was in that group, whereby so he's not only seen it as a coach under Pep at Man City, he was also in that group of invincibles where they. And he played within a side where they could roll it out at the back and pass through the 3/3. So I don't think he's seen or knows any different. And I think he probably wrongly assumed that he could carry it on at Arsenal when he hasn't really got the players. You understand what I mean? Whereas even Wenger, they recruited really, really well. Although, like I said, I still maintain it was impossible not to see even from outer space. You know, but the point being as well, I remember once I was sitting in the press section, and he got up. Kolo Touré went long with a ball, and I think they gave up possession. And it's one of the few times where he got up off the bench and he shouted. You see him shout, Kolo. He looks over and he's remonstrating. What are you doing? That ain't our game. Long diagonal balls ain't our game. You understand? And he said, like, to the governor, all right, boss, and look, and then they went back to rolling it out. Fullbacks iron wide, back centre back splitting. And can I go fizz it out to the fullback? No, roll it short to the centre back. Then more movement off of that. You understand? Because it goes in phases. Then you do part 1, and then contingencies are part 2, 3, 4 to 5 to get into from your defending third into your attacking third. Because it's not just one movement; it's a succession of movements, and he ain't got that at Arsenal.
No. All right, John. Well, that was a nice little overview of the weekend's fixtures, and we go again next week.
Lovely.
Anything you want to say before we say goodbye to our followers?
No, I just want to thank the followers. We've got more subscriptions this week. We want them to continue to view, like, subscribe, share, and to thank you personally for taking time out of your working day, mate.
No worries at all. And as seconded, everyone, please like, subscribe, follow, engage, ask questions. Let's keep it going.
Lovely.
Thanks, everyone.
Good stuff.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, John,
Thank
for
you.
the kind words. Cheers.
Cheers, Joe.